In the summer of 1986, what began as a routine trip through Buffalo's waterways became a months-long engineering and emergency response challenge. Barge 45 entered the Niagara River, where powerful currents carried the vessel toward the Peace Bridge. For one U.S. Army Corps of Engineers employee working nearby, it happened right in front of him.
I was a construction inspector on the Bird Island Pier rehab in the summer of 1986, so I had a front row seat when Barge 45 crashed onto the Peace Bridge Pier.
After finding the federal channel closed, the tug pushing the empty barge took an alternate route but emerged into the swift current of the Niagara River and headed toward the Peace Bridge.
Current in that time was around 11 to 12 knots. When he got lined up between Piers 3 and 4, he discovered the water intake for the Massachusetts pump station was right in front of him. At that point in time, he'd come down probably within 3,000 feet of the Peace Bridge and made the decision to pull a left-hand turn and try and go between Piers 4 and 5. At this point, it was all over with. He was sideways in the current. The little tug was screaming to redline. All the power it had was not making a difference, and he ended up sliding up onto the ice knife on the Peace Bridge, Pier number 4. It rode up on the ice knife, but it bent, and that was where it got stuck.
The collision left Barge 45 lodged against the bridge and created a problem much larger than the damaged vessel itself. Sitting in one of the narrowest sections of the Niagara River, the barge restricted the flow of water out of Lake Erie.
By that barge being that big, in that, you build the bridge in the narrowest part of the channel you can. By being in that narrowest part, it's blocking enough of the water that it's causing the water to back up into Lake Erie. And, initially they looked up and said, yeah, it's backed up a couple of inches worth. And you think well, what difference can a couple of inches make? But every inch makes millions of dollars of difference in the shoreline damage you get.
Removing the barge safely would require engineers to first understand what they were dealing with. Before a salvage plan could take shape, the Corps of Engineers needed to know the condition and internal structure of the damaged vessel. That meant someone had to go inside.
And armed with a clipboard, a tape measure, a camera, and something to write with, I crawled down inside of Barge 45, and while I'm standing inside the structure, the wave action coming up onto the deck and then receding, it's creaking, it's groaning, you can hear it, complain where it is. The interior is partially flooded. It was one of those few moments in my life where I said, what in God's name are you doing in here? So we came away with an accurate idea of what the interior of Barge 45 looked like.
With that information in hand, the question shifted from understanding the problem to solving it. The equipment available locally wasn't capable of lifting Barge 45 from the river. So the response expanded, drawing on the capabilities of other federal agencies and eventually a specialized salvage contractor.
There are contracts out there that we can tap into of other agencies. So they looked up and said, the Navy has a lot of, they have a lot of salvage capacity because if something happens, they have a lot of big ships. They're the ones who probably have the most to do with it. So they contacted the Navy, and the Navy said, yep, we have a contractor out in New Jersey, and we can get them up there and remove this for you.
But winter was approaching. Crews faced a narrowing window to secure funding, mobilize specialized equipment, engineer the lift, and remove the barge before ice and the seasonal closure of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway complicated the operation even further. Divers anchored the salvage equipment directly into the Niagara River's bedrock. A winch barge and a lift barge were positioned in the current, and heavy-duty lifting points were welded onto Barge 45. Then came the lift.
It came the big day to do the lift, and they start hauling up, and they're bringing it up, and they're hoping that everything's going to come up, and it's going to come back nicely. Then as soon as they get up, then the barge decides that it's going to fold against the pier, against that knife edge.
Despite the complication, crews freed Barge 45 from the Peace Bridge. With December approaching and little time remaining before winter shut down marine traffic, the salvage contractor moved the damaged vessel near shore, where Corps personnel later helped cut it apart and remove the debris. The immediate problem was gone. But 4 decades later, the response still offers lessons for the people responsible for responding to emergencies across the region today.
Barge 45 was a very unique incident. It's really, it involved an international waterway. It involved, the U.S. side, the Canadian side, a lot of different partner agencies. It was a really good example of how interagency coordination and communication is really a key aspect of working in this field.
The mission hasn't changed. Protect life and safety, understand the problem, determine what authorities and capabilities are available, and work alongside the agencies best positioned to respond. What has changed are the tools available to do it.
Technology has definitely improved in the last 40 years. Just like you said, we have GPS technology, and we have AI, and we have drones, and we have all kinds of different coverage, aerial coverage that we can provide. Just increased technology on with our computers and with our sonar imagery. We can provide that much more capability than we could 40 years ago. You're going to have different people involved. You're going to have different governments with different takes on what's happening. Laws may change over the years, so that's why it's always important to maintain those key relationships with our partner agencies and just to keep that communication flowing.
Barge 45 presented a problem no single organization could solve alone. 40 years later, the technology has changed, but the lesson remains. When an emergency crosses jurisdictions and missions, relationships, communication, and expertise are what turn a challenge into a solution.